Okay, so we're going to do a pair of pants now, and you can see on the templates here, this template for the pant works when the pattern piece is actually sitting this way, because that's the way you need it to face. So this piece here that I've got is facing that way, so we're going to use this template here. What I didn't say about the bodice patterns as well is that we've also got a 1.5 grade. So this is a single grade. So if you're going from a 10 to a 12, this grade here would be something that you'd use if you were doing a like small, medium and large. So your size 10 might be a small and your medium might be like a size 13. So halfway between a 12 and a 14. So that's why this grade is 1.5 sizes up. And then we have a shorts grade here, so a regular grade for a pair of shorts. And so there's length here through the crotch, but there's no extra length added for the leg, because the leg doesn't need to get really longer on a pair of shorts. And then there's a 1.5 grade, again with no length added into the leg, but then this is the grade that you could use if your size 10 was your small to go up to a 13, so you'd use this 1.5 grade. What I've also given you is for the pant template for if your pattern is actually facing the other way. So if your starting pattern was this way, this is the template to use, because we need to go obviously the opposite way to increase the size of the garment. And here we've got I need to put a note on here, but this is a 1.5 times grade. So again, this is the grade for a pant leg that's going in this direction, but needs to go up 1.5 sizes and not just the regular one size. So I'll add a note onto this to say just that. Okay, so we're going to use our pattern piece is this way, so we're going to use this template. We've just got a regular one size upgrade, so we're going to use this one here. And remember, you can make up your own templates as well. I just did these in Word. As a Word document, and just created a table in a Word document, and then changed the formatting of the table to make these squares the size that I needed them to be. Okay, so we've got our templates. Again, we're only adding 12 millimeters length in this, and again 12 millimeters, that's how much you would be adding if this was a full scale pattern as well, because remember that these templates are actually for full scale garments, and I'm just using the half scales or quarter scales because they fit on this size paper and it's easier for you to see. So the first thing I'm going to do is just put a little mark at the top there, and then a mark at the bottom, so that I can then use my grading ruler to draw in my line all the way down. Okay, and I've got the point here where I started. So I'm just going to position my templates. So the first one here, we can see I've actually cut it off, but that's where our starting point would be, and that's that point there. So we just need to position this so that it's sitting, so that start point is sitting just on top of our starting point on the actual pattern, and line that up, and then just stick that in place. And then down the bottom, we need to match it up with the grain line, and you can see there was my point there, so we just need these lines to go down 12 millimeters past that point. So lining it up with the grain line there. And if generally with grading, these lines would all be put on by hand. But like I said, like working with such small increments, it can be easy to make mistakes, especially based on, how good your grading ruler is, because I know sometimes they can be slightly different on both sides, and the sort of pencil and stuff that you're using as well. So that's why I printed these out. Okay, So what gets tricky about this too, it's a bit easier at the top, but at the hem here, you can see you've just got this bunch of lines sticking out. So remember that when you start, to actually follow the line to make sure that the grain on your pant leg matches up with the grain, your reference line that you put on the paper.
You could put a little arrowhead on the end of that line.
That's true. You could, you could do like a little cross or something to indicate that that's the centre.
I do that because I always get it mixed up.
Yeah, because pants can get tricky and annoying. Okay, so what we're going to do here, we're going to start with our dart, because you can see there's a dart here and here. Sorry, so just marking in my dart point at the top. And because I'm going to pull this off, I'm probably going to have to redraw this dart underneath anyway, but and I don't have a tailor's awl with me, or to mark the end of the dart here, but because the dart's not getting any longer, we need to mark that dart in as well. And because my piece is quite small, I can just put my pencil there, move that out of the way, and then I've got my dart point in. So you can see here we're going to start at this point. We've got 6 mil to go this way, 6 mil to go that way, and an additional 6 mil that goes into the crutch. So then what you need to do is move this over. So we're going to have 6 mil through here and 6 mil through here. So on the right, we're moving it over 6 mil, and then at the bottom here, we've gone from this line over to this line here. So I'm just then going down, and I'm going to do this all the way down a little bit past the hip. So you can see here, we've increased this by 6 mil, but this has stayed the same length. Okay, so we've gone down past, there's actually a hip notch there, which you can put in as well. And then just draw that down a little bit past the hip, because we're going to add some length in through there. Okay, so that's the right-hand side. Now we're going to we go back to our starting position, and we want to add the 6 mil over here on the centre front side of the dart. So you can see I'll go across and line that up with that one there. And again, down the bottom here, make sure that I've actually got it lined up. So this is where I was. I've moved over 6 mil to this line here. So there's a bit of backwards and forwardsing. So then you go across to the centre front and down, like you did with the armhole on the shirt, right down into the crutch. So I've drawn down into the curve there. Now what we need to do, we need to add length through the crutch here, and we need to add some extra width as well, because this is the measurement that grows the most on your body as you're getting bigger. So then we're going from the point where we drew in this section, we're going to go down to add length. So we're dropping that, and we're going to go across, so we're adding width. Okay, and then down the bottom, we just need to line that up. So we've gone from this line over to this one here. Just check that again, and then draw in that little section there. And you only have to draw down, around the corner here. And you can see there's a tiny bit of a step here. This won't be as obvious in full scale, but all you'll need to do is just connect those two so that you've got a nice flow through going there. Okay. So now we've added length through the top section here. Now we need to add our length through the leg. And like on our sleeve before, so we go back to the start point, we're not going to increase the ankle measurement or the hem of the pant as much as we did around the waist and around the crutch, because obviously people's ankles don't grow the same amount as they do around the waist or the crutch. So we've gone back to our original position here. And we're going to add length, so we're going to come down the 6 mil that we did before when we got the length through our crutch, and then we're going to go down another 6 mil, and that's going to make our leg longer. So with our reference point at the waist here in the centre, so still on the grain line, all we're doing is adding length at the moment, and then that line at the base here as well. And so then we can put in our cross line here. Now we're going to add width, but we're only going, instead of adding 6 and 6, we're going to add 3 and 3, so half the amount. So we just need that to move over from our original line over to the next line here, 3 millimeters. And you can see, just check that you're coming over from the grain line over here 3 millimeters as well. Okay, so check that. When you've got that in the right position, you can then redraw the other part of your leg here on the side, so up to the side seam a little bit, because what we have to do in a minute is we actually have to connect this back to the upper part of the pant, but we'll do that together. We'll do the inner leg and outer leg together. Okay, so back to our original central position. And like I was saying before, like the more that you get into this, the more it'll be a faster process, but I'm just trying to explain it very slowly so you get your head around it. So then we go across the 3 mil, so from our original line over 3 mil, and then make sure that happens on the waist as well, up at the waist. So original grain line over 3 millimeters, and then we can draw in that part of the pant leg there. Okay, so when we look at that, we've got our top section done here, we've got our hem that's increased, but now we need to draw the lines to connect the two. And the easiest way to do that is actually if you start at the top, so you can use your hip notch there as a reference point. Now we put our pencil on there and then look down the bottom, and you can see you can swing this. So we swing this leg so that it matches up with our original line there. Okay, so we can draw that in. Now sometimes it can get a little bit tricky because we actually have a balance notch here. So a notch on the side seam to help us sew along that long length of side seam there. So because you can do it so that the distance from the hip notch to that notch there stays the same, but I like to sort of even things out a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just go halfway. So I've got 6 mil up from here and 6 mil down from the hip there, and then I'm going to put my marker in. So that means that the notch has been centralized.
Is that notch generally refers to the knee, doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So even in the bigger sizes, you still need that reference line there to indicate where the knee is. Good thinking,
Yeah,
Libby.
so that makes more sense to do it in the middle.
Yeah, and so then on our inner crutch there, inside leg seam, you can see if I match that up there, there's a chance that, then this happens here, which is very random. So you could draw the leg in and then go, oh, okay, maybe if I connect that, but you just need to, keep in mind the reference lines that you've actually created. So again, we start at this point here. You can put your pencil on the crutch point there, and then we swing that around until it matches up with your line there, and then you can take that all the way through, and that gives us your crutch line to join the two together. Now we just need to go down. Now what I'm doing with this one here is I'm actually using this knee notch here on the outer leg as my reference point. So I've lined it up so that these two notches are in a similar position, and then you can put in your notch here. So there's the balance notch. So I'm just adding that underneath. And the reason I'm pointing that out is because this is only like 3 mil, but that's more like 6 mil there. So I haven't gone for the central point between those two. I've actually used this outside leg. And that's so that the knee notches stay on the same level as the pattern gets bigger. Okay, so then what we can do, we're just going to go back to the center to check our grade. So what I've done, I've put this on the center. So I've put the pattern so that they line up at the crutch level, and therefore you can see that the waist is getting wider by 6 mil. It's going out 6 mil on the side here at the hip level, but additionally the crutch is also getting deeper, and this is the crutch depth here, and it's getting wider as well. So we've increased the length of the crutch. And then you can also see going back, the leg has got wider as it goes down, and it's got longer as well. So again, you know, like the more grading you do, the more you'll be able to see just by looking at it that, you know, whether it's worked or not, worked correctly. And remember too that these are the grading increments that I use generally, and the company that you're working for or the grading that you've decided to do means that, you know, you can come up with your own increments as well. And a lot of product development is literally just working with those increments to increase them for sizes, but it just all happens on spec sheets. That's why it's good to understand grading, because you're working with spec sheets, and grading really is just about sizes getting bigger and so numbers getting bigger. And so, so you'd do up your spec sheet with the graded lengths on the spec sheet, and then that gets sent to your production people, who will then take that into account when they're doing the grading for production. So the last thing we need to do is we're going to pull this template off at the top there, and you can see that there's a little patch that's missing. So we'll just go back to our original reference point, make sure our grain line is lined up, and then just draw in that to connect the front, and then draw in our the notches for our dart as well. Okay, so this is our size 10 and this is our size 12 grade. Thanks.